There's a pretty heated debate within multiple esports communities and various games. It's been playing out over all of Twitter for like the last couple months and even the last couple years. You can find videos talking about this topic. But I think today, while I talk about whether or not genetics or hard work are more important for going pro in esports, I have some very important insights to give that I think other people just don't bring up. I see a lot of flaws within the arguments that people are using and the fact that many things like upbringing just aren't even mentioned. So today on this channel we'll be covering that. And the reason why you should trust me on this subject is because I was a top coach for Dota and player. I made it to rank 50 in North America, meaning I was the 50th best player in all of North America. And to this day I coach plenty of players. And of course, while I coach them, I see people who do well, see people who climb really fast, people who don't climb at all. And yeah, there's reasons for that. And I'm here today to talk about that. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to do is lay out a question. This question, in my opinion, clearly shows that genetics play a major part in whether or not you can go pro. And I know, I hear the comments already just shredding me. I'm pretty neutral on this, and I actually have an idea that I think a lot of people will like. But genetics do matter. And here's the question. So, answer this, guys. If I was to put two players at the exact same time, let's say Counter-Strike. I have two new players. They're learning Counter-Strike. They've never played before. I'm going to have them run the same amount of games, let's say 10 regular games, and the same amount of drills, right? 10 aiming drills, just to keep it basic. I put two people against each other. They run the same amount of games, same amount of drills. At the end of those games and drills, will they be the same skill level? And really, the answer is, of course, no. Of course not, because humans are different. We're different in plenty of ways. And that's why genetics matter. You can put in the same amount of hard work, but you're gonna have different results. That's just how it is. And let me talk about why that is. So first off, talking about genetics, I want to break this terrible idea that people have that genetics is just your reaction time. I've watched quite a few videos about this, I've read comments, I've done my research. Every single time genetics seems to come up, all people attribute genetics to is reaction time. Now, of course, there's other aspects as well, but that's the most common one. Do you have good enough, reaction time? Do you have good enough eye-hand coordination to play at the top level? But that is not the genetics that really matter. In fact, I think those are some of the least important things in all of esports, believe it or not. Now the next thing I want to do is bring up the fact that upbringing is a big part of whether or not you go pro. Upbringing, like your childhood. And this isn't necessarily genetics, right? But in my opinion, it's sort of similar, right? It's things that you can't control. You can't control your upbringing. It's just how it is, your parents and your siblings. And these things really matter. They matter because, let's say, your parents are very, very competitive. Let's say your parents were competitive sports players, or they're just very, very competitive in their jobs. Naturally, that's going to come down onto you. That's how it works. You are like your parents. So if your parents are competitive, you're going to be competitive. If your parents are resistant to stress, right, in stressful situations that come up all the time in top-tier esports and in tournament games, if they're resistant to stress, they will teach you to be resistant to stress, or you will just naturally be resistant to stress. That's a big deal. If you have siblings, that matters. I attribute a large part of my success in getting to a higher rank in Dota, that's the game I played, to the fact that I have two siblings. I have to compete against these two siblings in everything, meaning if I didn't have a mindset of trying to get better, I would fall behind, especially my older brother, right? Having an older sibling naturally pushes you to always have to get better, because if you don't, they just have 2 years of experience on you at all times, so you always have to be pushing. And that is another thing that determines whether or not you'll go pro. And to be clear, guys, this can also be a friend. Maybe you have a friend who pushes you to get better. Maybe you have an aunt, an uncle, a community member. Just having someone to push you. Just, having a friend group or a group of people that are more towards getting better and less about playing casually is going to determine whether or not you go up quickly. It just is like that. The next point that really plagues most people without them even knowing it is that most gamers just aren't willing to stick to one game. And that's fine. It's okay. It's great to play video games for fun. I mean, I love playing them for fun as well. But if you're going pro, it just can't really be like that. You can have a game you play on the side for fun. You can. That's okay. I've done it myself. When I was trying to go pro in Dota, I played quite a bit of Rocket League just to de-stress and have a good time. Like, you don't have to hate your life. But the reality is, social media platforms that exist nowadays and ads and just how the world works, it's for shorter attention spans. I think a lot of people could agree with that. The way the world has gone is towards shorter attention spans. And in order to go pro in a game, you have to be able to just focus on one thing and have one goal. And for a lot of people, not necessarily you, but for a lot of people, that's very difficult. And really, guys, I don't want to harp on this too much. I have plenty of other factors to list a couple that I got in this sheet. Just being able to accept your losses, treating every single game as a learning experience, having confidence in yourself, literally just being able to tell yourself, I can do it, I can get to the top level, is something that I've coached people, and some people just don't have it. They don't have that confidence to say, I can do whatever the pros are doing. And how are you going to get to that level if you don't even believe yourself you can do it? You're not going to take the steps then. So things like that, they matter. And that's what I see genetics as, right? I also see upbringing as a big part that kind of just gets pushed to the side. Now, let me give my back half of the argument where hard work matters a ton. However, if you do not have the top tier genetics that a lot of these pros have, no matter how much hard work you put in, you will likely not make it. Guys, when we're talking about going pro in esports, I'm not referring to tier 3, tier 4, where you make no money, but maybe you have like a slight following and you play in tournaments. I've done it myself. I don't consider that pro. When I'm talking about pro, I'm talking about the guys who are on salary, the guys who are doing well in tournaments. That's what I mean by going pro. That is like 0.001% of the community. Now, I don't have the exact numbers, so I get it. If you want to call me out on not using official stats, that's fine. But you guys get the point. It's basically no one. So if you have a group of tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1 players all playing, it's very likely they all put in similar or the same amount of time, which is a lot. There's only a certain amount of time in a day, and they're all working hard during that time of the day when they actually can play. So then what separates them? Genetics, upbringing, connections. Not necessarily hard work. And to be clear, hard work will get you very, very far. Hard work is more important than genetics when it comes to getting to a relatively high level, right? Hard work is more important. But when it comes to getting to that peak, that tier 1, when you're making a lot of money, that is when the players with better genetics and hard work go above. And I know that can be hard for people to hear. It's just what I've noticed. I've talked to a lot of people in the scene. I've talked to a lot of people who have analyzed this type of stuff. I've thought about it a ton myself, and that's really what it is. You can have that hard work. You'll get to a point where you're happy with yourself, I'm sure. You'll get to the top rank of your game with hard work. I genuinely believe that's possible for everyone. But genetics do come in at a certain point. If you want to get to that level where you do this as purely a living, that's when genetics matter more than anything else. And that's my take, guys. I hope you kind of see how hard work, it matters a lot. I respect hard work more than anything. I coach a lot of students, and the people that put in the most work get the most results. But when it comes to equal people on the same terms, that's when humans are different. Humans are different, and I think a lot of us can agree with that. And that's where I think genetics and upbringing can really come into play. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I really would like to have active and useful conversations with you guys in the comments. I'll respond to every single one, so feel free to comment anything. Even if you hate my guts after this video, I'll be happy to respond and hear you out. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Smash that like button, subscribe, and yeah, I hope to see you guys in future videos. Peace.